First of all, thank you so much for joining Frederick in the podcast.
My pleasure.
And I would just like to start by asking you what is your definition of exercise, training, or workout, and how would you categorize it?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. Oftentimes we think we find that people like mess up being just physical active and actually doing exercise, because in our definition, physical activity is everything from mowing the lawn, vacuum cleaning, taking a walk, or just bike for work. That will all be physical activity, and actually it's everything else than just sitting down or laying down. But when we're moving on to the actually exercise part or training part, uh, it is with the goal of increasing some kind of capacity, and it can be both cardiovascular capacity, from cycling or swimming or running, or even if you have been sedentary, you can actually improve your cardiovascular capability from just having a brisk walk. But it is to note here that you cannot just take a slow walk. You should at least feel your pulse get up, and your heart rate. Maybe you're getting a little out of breath, and it's just fine. Actually, it is actually in that range. You are actually working out. On the other hand, there is strength training. With some kind of strenuous exercises on your muscles, and it could be anything from squatting or doing push-ups or doing burpees or something. And I think for the general population, I would recommend doing physical activities or strength training activities where you can, I would say, do a maximum repetition of 10 to 15. If you're below that, you are by definition training your strength. Does that answer the
Yeah,
question?
yeah. That definitely answers the question. And I think the most important part to worth highlighting is that when you exercise, you have to feel that you are
Exactly.
exercising. If you are not able to feel it in your breath or in your muscles, then probably you are not doing justice to yourself and not using the time properly.
Exactly, and time is a very important matter here. When you're exercising or when you're training, it should feel some kind of strenuous. When that is said, I would also recommend, if you're not used to being physically active, it is okay to ease into it over a few weeks or a few months, because otherwise it can be quite demotivating if you feel like you're almost dying with each bout of exercise, right?
Yes, yes, sure. And it should not be, we should not create unnecessarily over ambitious and create the barriers for ourselves either. So definitely that makes sense.
I think we'll be talking later when we talk about if we talk about motivation, because if we're out of breath very much every time we work out, over time you might lose motivation. And I think the overall goal for this podcast should be that some activity is definitely much better than no activity. So if the
I
some
agree.
activity you can do is less strenuous, it's also better than nothing.
I agree. So better than nothing is the mantra.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
some exercise is better than no exercise. Yeah. All right. Then the next question I have is because we many times we see exercise relevant for people who are either trying to look good. That is a glamour factor of
Mhm.
it, and this was also something mentioned by Dr. Banshi Sabu, who was in our guest in our previous podcast, and he highlighted that a lot of people see exercise and fitness as a matter of glamour, but also some others feel that exercise is relevant for people who have some or other sort of
Mhm.
problems like obesity or pain in a body part or something or other. So how do you define the need of exercise? Who needs the exercise?
Yeah, I think you raise a very important topic here, Khushboo, because for some people it's just vanity. They want to look slim or they want to look fit, and for some people they are like, all right, I injured my arm, so I better start training it, or I have gotten diabetes, so now I start exercising. But exercising should be for everyone, because you are actually, by being physically active, you are preventing a long range of diseases with being physically active. I think Most people, they all of their working life, they put in money for their older life. When you put in physical activity during your life, you also preventing a lot of diseases in old age. And I think it's a very important message for everybody that they should be treating physical activity as a prevention and not just a treatment.
So you want people to see exercising as an investment in their future.
Exactly, it's an investment, just
Yes.
like when you're investing in stock market, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So yeah, but that's a very good way of thinking, because then it is relevant for everyone. Everyone wants to stay healthy and fit also in the
Yeah,
future. So great. And you named that, or you mentioned that there are some conditions that can be prevented by exercising regularly. Can you give some examples? Which conditions can we prevent by exercising regularly?
yeah. And earlier today, I sent you a list from the World Health Organization, and it is actually a very long list of diseases. But overall, it's for being physically active. You will improve your heart condition, your muscular condition. You will prevent diseases like diabetes or cardiovascular diseases. Also, your digestion should be improving from being physically active. A lot of people with sleep issues are feeling both. It's easier to fall into sleep, also staying asleep when they're being physical active during the day. So there is a long list of diseases being prevented from being physically active. And again, I think the main message here should be that it is prevention and not just treatment. So you're doing it beforehand and not when you get the diagnosis, right?
Yes, yes, totally agree. And I think you mentioned all those conditions, and that it's amazing that how many conditions you can prevent by just exercising and staying
Yeah,
active in your life. But I also feel that when I am exercising, for example, I always feel this mental relief after that, which makes me mentally more
yeah,
healthy and
yeah.
robust. And I can't explain it why, but whenever I'm exercising and I had a stressful day, then I come out from the exercise as a very rejuvenated person, as a very energetic person, mentally as well. So is that something to do with each other, mental health and exercises?
Yeah, definitely. And what you experience, I'm glad that you do that, because that might make you keep doing it. But actually, exercising, you're releasing dopamine, and it's the hormone that is for satisfaction. And of course, you can get dopamine from a lot of things, but it from physical activity definitely improves also mental health.
Yeah, that's very good to know actually. Now I'm trying to focus towards young people. And what would your advice be in relation to importance of exercise for young people, for younger generation?
Yeah. Do you mean children specifically, or just young people?
Children and young adults, I would
Oh yeah,
say.
yeah. So, like overall, we would suggest the guidelines being that having a combination of cardiovascular training and strength training, being active up to like for young people up to 300 minutes a week. For kids, we would actually recommend being active for a full hour every day, and also having several small bouts of physical activity. Small kids, when they have these breaks between classes in school, they will like naturally just start moving around, right? So we are kind of born with it, and during studies or life, we tend to forget that. And I think actually we should be inspired by our young ones, because they do it by them, like naturally, right? But we would recommend being physical activity all the way through childhood and in young age, for 60 minutes a day, and preferably a combination of both strength and training.
Yeah, and you also shared this picture of be strong, stay
Yeah,
strong, and yeah, can you also talk about that, because we would like to show that to the audience as
yeah,
well.
sure. I guess you'll be putting it on the screen, right? Um, But actually, it's a quite nice illustration from British Journal of Sports Medicine, where they show that by being physically active in your childhood, it gives you an like a step forward for the rest of your life. But it also is it's also very important to mention that it's never too late to start. So you might have been sedentary until now, but you should not that should not stop you. You should just stay active, because what we can see is that people who are starting out strong and are being strong during their adulthood, they also have a better condition in their old age. And it might end out with you being able to get out of bed by yourself, or getting to the toilet by yourself when you reach a high age, and that I I guess you can just sum it up with the overall quality of life.
Yes, and that is such an important point, to have that strength when you are 90
Yeah,
plus or
yeah.
so, or at least 80 plus even, right? You need to have basic fundamental strength to carry out daily life.
I think it's when we talk about the elder people, the ability to just get up from a chair without using your arms or without assistance. Uh, you might not feel the need for it, but if you can just barely get up without using your arms, if you get a cold or you get sick from something else after the disease, you might not anymore be able to get up from your chair. So you're just on the edge of not being capable. And
Yes,
by being strong, you have something to give from, right? So if you
yes.
can get up from your chair like 10 times, uh,
Mm.
maybe after your disease you can only get up 7 times, but you can still get up by yourself. You don't have to wait to come and help you, right?
Yes, and that's such an amazing point and amazing illustration. So, what you are saying, Frederick, is that exercise or muscular training, strength training, is also relevant for elderly people, because it is always perceived that muscular training is for young adults or younger
Mhm.
generation. But it sounds very relevant and very important for elderly
Yeah,
people, actually, more to me.
yeah. Young people can actually maintain their muscle mass from being some having some physical activity. But when you reach old age, you actually have to be more specific to like maintaining your muscle mass. You have to do specific strength exercises, and it can just be getting up from your chair like 10 or 15 times. And if it's too easy, maybe carry a backpack or something heavy, and you will strengthen your legs. And when we reach the age of 50, we see a decline over year, where where you lose a certain percentage of muscle mass, and you can be preventing that from like overall two things. It will be physical activity with a focus on strength training, but also your diet. And I know that you have been talking to Dr. Banshi about having a protein-rich diet, the protein being the building blocks for maintaining the muscles, right?
Yes, yes, and he highlighted the importance of having protein in the diet as a staple, because sometimes we don't think and eat a lot of carbs, and we don't think the definition of balanced
Mhm.
diet when we are eating. So that was also a very important message. But yeah, great. Um, uh, when we are talking about elderly people, I want to talk about a particular section of elderly people who are operated for heart surgery, with heart surgery, or have chronic heart
Yeah.
conditions. And we know that you have experience with a lot of such people in the rehabilitation center here in the municipality. So, what are your recommendation about exercise for them? Because they are often very nervous about exercise, especially cardio.
Yeah, and I think it's very understandable that you are feeling anxious and nervous after having a heart attack, maybe, or after the heart surgery. But a common misconception is that they should not be too active because they don't want to stress anything. But when we're talking about physical activities, we actually want some stressors for the system, because without the stressors we cannot develop physical capability. So we actually recommend some sort of moderate to intense physical activity for people with the heart diseases. But I also have to say, of course, you have to clear this with your doctor, or at least a physical therapist with
Mm.
a specialty in heart diseases, just to make that you are on the right path, right?
Yes, yes, and also just to know this, that it is an option for them as well. It's not a no go. That is itself is a big thing, because a lot of people think that it's a no go for them because now they are operated for the heart. So exercising is an option for them, and they must investigate. They must see, first of all, find their own limits, but also consult with their doctors, and try and talk to them that what will work for them, what is
Yeah.
suitable in their condition.
I think it's a very good, important message here, and I would take it to the next level and not just saying it's an option for them. I would say they have to, at least if they want to keep function, or increasing their lifespan, because we know it's very, very important after heart surgery or heart attack to get back to physical activity.
Yeah, okay, that's very good. Very good that you highlighted it that way, Frederick. Yeah. Then there was some we touched upon this topic earlier as well, around motivation. What motivates me is small achievable targets, and when I'm exercising I always set some small targets for me where I can be better and better. Often I fail, but sometimes I also succeed. But how do you motivate the group of citizens, the group of patients that you cater to, and what do you think is important in relation to motivation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think what the therapists here in my house are very, very good at is finding out what is the personal goal of this person. It might be for you, Khushboo, to be able to do some set number of push-ups or maybe run a marathon, but it might not be my goal. And if it's not my goal, I might not stay on track, or you know, my motivation will disappear after just a few bouts, right? So maybe. For the elder person, it's not motivating to think about being able to run a marathon or just run 5 kilometers or doing 10 push-ups. But when we talk to them, maybe they miss something. Maybe they miss being able to take up their grandkids. And when we find out that they miss this, we can use this as a motivational factor for having to be strong enough to pick up your grandchildren. And getting to that goal will be through overall strength training, maybe, or it might be I would like to getting my groceries myself. All right, we might, if you have been very sedentary, we might work on your cardiovascular capability, or again your strength training. But finding out a very personal goal and then break it into smaller bits, because if you have been sedentary for a long time, and suddenly you actually find out, all right, I want to be able to run a marathon. Maybe a start goal should just be 5 kilometers, or be able to walk 5 kilometers and take it from there. And when you reach that smaller goal, you'll take another achievable goal, and it should be within eyesight. You should actually believe that it is achievable. Yeah. I think it's very important that they feel it's within reach, right?
Yes, yes, it's that's true. I think achievable goals are the key, because if it is too difficult, I would give up as well
Exactly.
at some point,
Yeah.
for example. So I have to believe in it, and I have to believe in myself that I will be able to achieve
Yeah.
it, whatever goal is set for
Yeah.
me. So that's very it's fantastic to know that you are talking to the individual patients and citizens, and trying to get their personal goals into the rehabilitation goals or exercising goals and workout
Yeah.
program. That makes a lot of good sense, because it aligns the exercise goals with personal
Mhm.
ambitions, and I think that is very strong. That is a strong concept to have.
Yeah.
So really
We work from something called patient-specific functional scale. So the patient is defining what should my functional level be after this, like say 12-week intervention. So for one person in the room, it might be getting my groceries myself. But for the person just next to him, it might be I want to be able to run 10 kilometers. So it's very patient specific, but because it's their own personal goal, it speaks better with the motivation, right?
yes, yes. Yeah, and I'm thinking when I get older, my ambitions could be just to, as long as I'm alive, I should be able to raise myself up from a bed, from a
Yes.
chair, and then sit again without any help,
Yeah.
right? Without needing any assistance from others.
And you know
So,
the main threat for you not being able to do that is actually, everything around us is just so easy. We can drive to anywhere. You can work from home, so you don't have to get out and walk to your work, or even walking from the parking lot to your work. You can work from home. You can just order food with an app on your phone. You don't have to go get the groceries. When back in the old age when we were hunter gatherers, we had to go out and hunt an animal before getting any food. Now you just have to get up and get to the fridge, right? So
yes,
it's very
yes,
very easy for us to be inactive, and
yes, that's
and
true.
that's the main
And we are not designed, probably. We are probably not designed to be
no.
inactive. We are designed to be active and go out and farm or hunt or do something to get the food,
Exactly,
right?
and I think also that is why when we are being uh, physically active, we are getting this dopamine boost because the body wants to tell us that we have to keep doing this to stay healthy, right?
Yes.
So it's actually the body's way of saying it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but that is so, yeah, that is amazing to understand. Yes, there are correlations which are also part of the evolution, how the society evolved and how we evolved as human beings. And I think you're right that being sedentary is quite easy these
yeah, yeah.
days, especially in the warm temperature of
Oh, yeah.
India. So that brings me to the next question that a lot of people, of course, the temperature in India is crazy, and a lot of people are affected by it. They don't want to go out. They can't go out. I mean, as a human, you can't go out if it is 50
No.
degrees Celsius. Uh, but how can you stay active indoors? And what would your advice be? Like, should they give up who because of the temperature, because of the weather, or what options do you propose?
Yeah. Thank you for the leading question, Khushboo. Because of course you should not give up. That's not an option, I guess. With all the other things we just talked about, we have to stay active. And I understand in Denmark it's quite cold or most of the time, but if you live in a country where it's very warm, you should find a way to stay physically active indoor, and it is possible. You can do exercises like burpees and squats and push-ups and so. And I think for most people, it's it is a thought of maybe it's too easy just to do squats, or if it's an older person just getting up from sitting to standing, it can be quite strenuous. And I say for younger people being physically capable, they might think, okay, I cannot do enough squatting inside without weight for me to get being physically active. But I think for the listeners being watching the video, I have this small demonstration. Maybe it's very easy. I'll just adjust the camera here. Maybe it's very easy for you to just to go from sitting to standing, but I think for most people they should at least try this, lifting one leg and then getting up and sitting down again. And for most people it's very hard just to do 10 of these repetitions. So if that is hard enough, I think most people can see that they can be physically active anywhere, and they just need 1 square meter of space.
Yeah, and that was my actually next question, which you already
Okay.
covered. That what if the space is too little? But you're right that a lot of these things can be done in a very little space, and also the exercise that you demonstrated. I'll try it when we are done with this
Yeah,
podcast.
tell me how many you can do on one leg.
Yes, definitely. But I think so. What you are telling is that you can create difficult versions of the simple
Yeah,
exercises and do it indoors if you want it to be more
yeah,
difficult. And if you are happy and if it is strenuous
mhm,
enough to do the normal version, just do the normal version as well.
exactly. And
Right?
and you know what? Going from sitting to standing, it's the exact same exercise as the squat. And I guess most people
Yeah.
know the squat. It is just an easier way of doing a squat. If you're an older person or you have imbalance or balance issues, it's perfectly fine just to do it from a chair or from a couch or a bed. Um,
Mm.
and in the other end of the spectrum, if it's too easy just to doing squats, try the exercise that I just showed you. It's the same muscles being worked on, but it's just getting harder. And for the space required, I would say if the space is big enough for you to lay down and to stand up, you have enough space for being physically active. There's no excuses.
Yeah, thank you so much, Frederick. Thanks for pointing it out. So, yeah, my last question is we talked about motivation and we talked about how you do these personal assessments of every citizen, every patient to keep them active on their personal goals. How do you believe? Or first of all, do you believe that technology can help in keeping people motivated? Is it an opportunity to improve or a barrier, in your opinion?
I think it's a very important tool. Like I just touched upon, you can be physically active with very little equipment, but what the technology can do is both it can remind us, oh, it's time for you to being physically active. It can also track your development. It can be motivating you, giving you small tips or inspiration. Maybe if you have an app and the app shows you another version of an exercise you like to do, maybe you would like to try the new exercise. So there is a long list of benefits from using apps for being physically active. And
Yes.
I think especially the tracking part, you can see, all right, 3 months ago I could only do like this, and now I can do twice as much. And for some people, it is quite motivating.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that is why in holistic care approach, we always think as well in our company and in our projects that exercise is as important as the clinical
Yeah.
care and mental health and well-being. So yes, definitely technology can play a role there. I totally agree, Frederick. So yeah, I think these were the questions that I have. Do you have any closing remarks before we stop the podcast?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on here. I think it's very great talking to you about this very important matter. Um, I think just one closing remark is uh, we should be physically active through all of our lifespan, and if we might not have been starting out strong in our childhood, but it's never too late to start out and be strong in your adulthood, putting in on this physical investment and staying strong in your old age. I hope we came through to everyone with this important message, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And I think you summed up quite well, Frederick. So thanks a lot. And I hope we can make a little bit change in people's mindset with this podcast episode. Thank you so much for participating and joining us
My
today.
pleasure.